Hello everyone, welcome to Zero Labs and Zero's Garage. Today is Saturday, July 19th, 2014, and the project for today is my wife's 1997 Toyota Camry 4-cylinder with a sticking idle air control valve. Stay tuned. So the problem is that the check engine light keeps coming on because when the air conditioner is turned on, the car will surge at idle. The reason for that is because the air control valve is sticking. I want to show you what I did to clean the air control valve by taking the throttle body off of the car, and then I want to show you an alternative method that I discovered can possibly be done now that I've gone through the whole process of taking it off and looking at it closely, where you don't have to take it off. You might enjoy this one. I apologize for the darkness and the shadows. I am working inside the garage. I probably should have pulled the car out, but I wanted to make sure that I would be able to complete the task and not have to leave the car outside. In any event, you're looking at the throttle body with the air ducting removed from the air box. Okay, and you'll see down inside here, this right here is the opening for the inlet to the air control valve, and the air control valve simply bypasses the throttle plate inside the plenum. Okay, so when the air control valve is actuated, some air enters through this port and bypasses the throttle plate to the plenum so that the idle speed can be controlled before the car warms up. This right here is the coil that actuates the electrical solenoid that controls the amount of airflow. I've already taken the two Phillips head screws off so you can see how this actuator mechanism works. Here's the backside of the mechanism. And the way this operates, okay, this is not actually a plunger. This is actually a shaft that rotates side to side. And this piece that's glued to the end here, this is a diametrically magnetized cylindrical magnet, meaning the north is on one side and the south is on the other side, not north on one end and south on the other end. So when the magnetic field is applied by the car's electrical system, it actually takes and rotates this, and inside there is a cylindrical gate that opens and closes. The problem is that cylindrical gate inside becomes covered with buildup, with carburetor buildup, grunge, and just crud. The remedies that I've seen online before show, the car running and literally just spraying the carburetor cleaner into this port. The problem is the carburetor cleaner will run through the body of the air control valve down through this center hose right here, which is actually an air bypass, and gets sucked into the intake manifold. The way around that, I've discovered, now that I know how it works, take this middle hose off, just like that, okay? And before you start spraying carburetor cleaner, put your finger on the bottom and hold it there, and then flood the carburetor with flood it with carburetor cleaner until you can almost see it in the opening, and then you can take this flapper valve and force it end to end. There's a spring-loaded mechanism inside here that's thermostatically controlled. That's what these other two hoses are. These other two hoses feed the water from the radiator through the air control valve as well, and it changes the range of motion. But you can feel, if you give it a good push, in one direction, you'll feel it actually hit the stop, and you're working against a spring. And do that in both directions, and keep doing that in both directions with the carburetor cleaner flooded in this opening, and you will clean out the grunge. Then you can just release your finger from the bottom here into a cup or a little can and dump out your carburetor cleaner if you don't want to let it just fall on the back of the engine and onto the ground, and you're done. Put everything back together, and everything's clean. I'm going to take this throttle body off the car one more time so that you get a good close look at the actual gate valve inside, so that you can see what I'm talking about. Again, I apologize for the very poor lighting here, but I am inside the garage, and there isn't a lot of windows in this garage. Now, I've already loosened the 3 bolts and taken off the vacuum hoses and the throttle the throttle mechanism right here from the throttle body. All right, put it aside. Disconnected the throttle sensor and the air control valve connectors. And before I take this off, I also have to disassemble the 2 water hoses. So I'm just going to squeeze the clamps that hold the water hoses over the nipples and pull them down off. The first time I did this, I had to use a pair of slip joint pliers. And when you remove vacuum hoses, a little tip here for you is to grip the hose with the slip joint pliers, and instead of pulling, try to spin it around the nipple to break it free before you try sliding it off. That'll save you a lot of grief trying to get these things off. Alright, so both of the hoses are off. And the throttle body also comes off very easily because I've already broken it free from the plenum. I did that with a piece of wood and wrapping it with the back side of my socket, my ratchet wrench. Not a lot of weight, just make sure you don't ding the metal directly. So here's the throttle body. Alright, and underneath is the air control valve. It's held on by 4 screws that you cannot get to unless you take the throttle body off. And next I'm going to show you what the air control valve looks like inside, so you can see that cylindrical gate I was talking about. Okay, so here is the carburetor. Here's the throttle body with the air control valve. The 4 screws have been removed. All right, and it separates like so, and you can see the ports inside right here. This is where the water flows. All right, up over the top, and here are the bypass ports on the bottom side of the throttle body. What I really want you to see, though, is this. All right, there's the gate. You can see I'm spinning it closed and open. Now on this end here there's a plate that spins. You can see it's calibrated. Don't change the calibration, that's set at the factory. But what happens is that cylindrical gate that's moving back and forth, before I started that was completely black. Alright, and you see it is spring loaded. I have to give it a good twist on the magnet to get it to reach its end of motion. but you can see how it's moving inside there, and it needs to move freely. That's the key. If this thing sticks, this will cause the car to have very poor starting in the winter time, and it will also give you a lot of surging when it's at idle and at low speed acceleration. So there you have it. Now, what I learned was that to clean it, you need to spray your carburetor cleaner on the top. As soon as you do that, it drains out this tube here that would normally be an air bleed, an air inlet bleed from the crankcase. Alright, and this is probably why it even gets gunked up. As the engine ages, the amount of blow-by gases that get by increase, and then this tends to get grungy a lot sooner. The way you fix that, instead of taking this all apart, again, take your finger, put it on the bottom of the pipe. Now I did this outside, but now I know you can do it on the car. Flood the top with carburetor cleaner until it is literally flooded, and then just keep working it back and forth like this until it's all cleaned off. Alright, and it takes a little while to do that. You know, be ready to spend 10-15 minutes doing this just to make sure that it all dissolves and gets all cleaned off. But it's, like I said, it's got to move very freely, and you can see this now moves very freely. Alright, so I'm going to put this thing back on the car now, and by the way, while you're at it, when you have it off the car, clean the throttle body and the plate. You got it off, you may as well do it. That's if you're going to take it off. So I'll give you a little time lapse now of the whole thing going together. Enjoy. Okay, that's the basic portion of the throttle body reassembly. One thing that I forgot to mention when I was taking apart the airbox assembly and the air duct that leads up to it is this nipple right here had a hose on it, and it broke, literally broke, snapped. You can't even bend it. You just bend it a little bit and the hose would snap. That I'm going to have to replace. That goes I don't know what it actually controls, but there's some valve attached to it, and I'm sure there's a vacuum signal on here, and if I was getting a vacuum leak from a hose that looks like this, that could very well have been part of my wife's problem. So I've got some hose around here somewhere. We'll put this back together with all new hoses. Turn the ignition on, find your plug, let your gauge read the vehicle. Air control system, idle air control system 3, P0505. This is what keeps the car from passing emissions. P1133, manufacturer control, and another P1133, manufacturer control. So that's twice. So we're going to exit, scroll down, press enter to erase the codes, Am I sure? Yes, erasing is done. I'll start the car. Yay. And that's the engine, check engine light that I could not get to stay out the last time. So this was a success. So that's it from Zero's Garage. I hope you found this tip useful. Remember, you don't need to take the throttle body off the car if you use the tips, follow the tips that I've suggested. And you sure as hell do not need to buy a $140 part from your local automotive parts store or bring it to the dealer and pay them $300 plus to do this every 2 or 3 years to your car. Do it yourself. As always, please rate, share, comment, and subscribe. And peace, everyone.